There has been so much discussion around contracts lately. And the thing about contracts is they are essentially cycles. In order for those cycles and those contracts to be renewed, certain criteria has to be met. And low key, certain things have to be repeated because you have to create this continuation of that energy. And the most notable one is the 250-year contract of America. But that's just on the grander scale. There are also cycles within cycles and contracts within contracts. So a point was just made that the last time the nodes were in Leo and Aquarius and we had a Venus retrograde like this was back in 2018. And if you guys remember anything about 2018, I think that was low-key a tumultuous year. And so there is this energy coming up now of a renewal of the contracts from then. And I believe this was like a 7-ish year cycle. Let me see. A 7-ish year cycle that has concluded, and they want to renew it. They, quote unquote, they. There's this energy of trying to renew those contracts because when those contracts went into place back then, it was a cycle of lack that was perpetuated against people who were not supposed to be in lack. And now that we have re-entered our original timelines, they are going to utilize this energy to try to force us back into previous timelines, into previous cycles, into previous contracts. So some things to look out for are genuinely, well, one, you have to remember what was happening to you back in 2018, what was going on for you, what was your life like right before a turning point occurred. So there's almost this like black and white contrast between how you were living before the contract and then what your life turned into after the contract. And obviously for the people who engaged in creating these cycles of lack and whatnot for others, they were in lack and then they flipped that on its head, utilizing someone to take their place. Because again, this is a realm of balance. So it's like for everything given, something has to be taken, or everything taken, something has to be given. You have to leave something in order to take something of equal or greater value. So when certain people were offered up to take the place of people who were rightfully supposed to be in lack, it was this very big deal where they stood to gain so much and we had to lose so very much in order for them to gain so much. So these cycles were created, and you know the thing about it is something that's out of alignment, you have to genuinely work to keep it as is. So it's not like it was just this one and done thing, because we as light beings, we naturally float. And with that being said, we naturally tend to rise out of cycles. It doesn't take much of anything for us to flip energy on its head. So these people had to create restrictions upon restrictions and roadblocks upon roadblocks and blockages upon blockages, among other things, in order to put us in the frequency that could be not only contained, but held down. So what's coming back up now is the energy of trying to create cords and hooks to put you back in lack. But I don't think it's going to go that way, especially for most of us who have already went through a season of lack. I've been saying for a while now, when you lose enough stuff, you don't give a shit what you lose after that. You are accepting of loss. So it doesn't create this feeling in you of a lower vibration. It kind of creates this higher vibrational frequency of, okay, what's coming is coming, what's going is going. So they're trying to repackage these cycles in a new way. But when you look at the underlying energy, it's all the same. It all remains the same. So things to look out for are people from that time period, especially if you haven't been in contact with them, coming back around, or even new people coming around who remind you of people from the past because they're carrying that same energy. Do not ignore your intuition. And you might be having problems surface again that remind you of that time period too. Were there things you lost during that time that you are losing right now, or in the process of losing, or think you're going to lose? What was going on in your life around 2018? And just be on the lookout for how that is arising for you again. And just make sure that you don't react the same way. And I believe for many of us that anything that is that far back, it's nothing new to us. So we're not going to respond to it in that same way as we did when it was sprung upon us, when it was new for us, because we've already integrated most of these lessons anyway, if not all of them. And then with this eclipse basically it's tomorrow night, but really I was considering it as Thursday. So we have the eclipse, the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces with it's a full moon. And then we'll have a CME coming in, which if you don't know is coronal mass ejection. That's like plasma coming at us from the sun. I don't think plasma is the right word. Anyway, the sun shot off some goop at us, and all that energy is heading towards Earth at the moment. It'll be here over the next 2 days. So there's a lot of energy up in the air, and eclipses are highly unstable energy. There is going to be a lot of people who take their chances and throw work during this full moon. And I don't suggest doing work during an eclipse. However, I don't say that in a sense that you should forsake protection work. You should definitely do whatever protection you utilize, because a lot is riding on this eclipse for the people who tossed energy up during the last eclipse, which was like 2 weeks ago. It was almost like their biphase, not even an activation, but it was like a dual phase work for them. And what they tossed up during that new moon solar eclipse already failed. So they're doing their best, or they're going to send their best over this full moon lunar eclipse, which probably won't be much because they are losing their power, they're losing their source day by day as we get closer to this culmination point. There's only so much energy that they have to work with because they have been getting stripped in all arenas of their life. And that's really what this is they have been stripped so far down that they are just tossing caution to the wind and just trying to gain a foothold in any way they can. It's like spraying bleach on a parasite and they all just like die, minus that like 0.0001%. One survives, but it's so weakened. It might mutate, but for the most part, it's so weakened that it's going to need time to recuperate anyway. So just be mindful of what energy is coming up for you. I noticed a lot of this bait and switch provocation energy coming back up over this last week, especially, where people will engage you in like this hostile manner and might even try to bring it off as playful, but the underlying tone of it is hostile. And then when you respond, they immediately flip into this like docile mode. So then you take on the energy of being aggressive. The only way to beat out this energy is to not respond at all. So when anyone's coming at you in a weird way, literally, you have to ignore it. Do not give them a response. Don't even say a word back to them if it's a verbal provocation. If it's on the internet, block them, delete their comment, whatever. Just do not respond. The only way to win this game is to not engage. So that's definitely something that's been coming up, is this bait and switch energy. And I recognize that this bait and switch in specific is their workaround for density dumping. So these people have so much hostility and rage built up in them. And if you know, that is dense. That is a very dense emotion to hold. Those are dense feelings to hold. So what they'll do is they'll see you in a good mood. You'll be chilling, and they will just come out of nowhere with something. Basically, it's stupid. And then you'll be like, yo, what the fuck? And then it's just like, oh, yeah, we're all good, yeah. It's a density dump, because they can't just density dump. They need to toss you the grenade, and then you have to, if you catch the grenade, it becomes your grenade. And they're not going to let you toss it back, because the whole point of them they're not going to catch it if you toss it back, because the entire point was for them to toss it at you and for you to catch it. And once you catch it, it becomes yours. So you took on that density in that bait and switch. So just a few things to be mindful of, especially over this eclipse window. There's a lot of energy being tossed up right now. And again, people are doing so much because they are really SOL. Things are going very bad for the opposition, even if it doesn't seem like it on the surface. They are losing so much. They're continuously losing money. They are losing resources. They are losing opportunities. They are just losing, because the energy that they tossed up is continuously falling all around them. So just keep on the straight and narrow. Ignore the bullshit. Do not catch their grenades. They need you to take on their density. That is their workaround. Because before, it was just so they could easily just toss their density onto anyone else, even if you didn't consciously take it on. They were just allowed to dump it. They could energetically cloak. They could just transfer it. But now they actually need for you, this is the workaround for you to catch it so that it becomes yours. Because once it's in your hands, it's yours. Just some things to be mindful of over this eclipse window.